All right, welcome to Wildcard Gaming. This is a Dark and Light tutorial series. Right now, we're talking about vendors, and we're pivoting from vendors into gear. So when you very first start out, you'll do the quests. Like you need to watch part 1 and part 2. You'll do the quest that will teach you how to make armor, which is super important, obviously. As you progress through the game, you'll get access to more armor like copper and fur and mithril, and then finally darkness at the end. So there are different armor tiers. There are different tiers of armor. There is gray armor, like most games, so craftable. This is what you will be able to make when you level up whatever that skill is. You'll be able to make leather. Then there's chat is super annoying in this game too, actually. Anyway, so you have craftable, then you have general, so these are all craftable, and then you have general, which you can't make, but you can buy from the vendor. Then you have uncommon, which is green, rare, which is blue, epic, purple, legendary is yellow. Why that's important is because generally they have better stats. Now pay attention to the stats because that's not always true. I was looking at a pair of legendary boots yesterday that had the worst stats I'd ever seen. The next day, there was a blue pair of boots, so 2 levels lower than legendary, and they had better stats than the legendary did. So every time I craft one of these vendors, it rolls new gear. There's a range of stats for each piece. So if you're going to buy one, make sure that you're getting your money's worth. Make sure that you're spending your money wisely, because it's hard to make money in this game. It's as I talked about in the vendors in the other video. It's hard to make money. You don't need it necessarily. It makes the game easier, but yeah. Okay, so as you can see, the Epic Darknet Helm. Tooltips in this game are wrong. Almost every tooltip is wrong. The language, like the English in it, is very poor. Sometimes they're a little bit helpful, but most of the time they're just a distraction. As you can see, the vendors are kind of messed up, right? I have 2,656 gold, which is not very much. It's less than 1. Like if I brought all of the stuff that I need to sell, I usually sell around 4,000 gold, 4 to 6,000 gold a day is what you can make if you're the only one selling to the vendor. So that's another thing to worry about. And this is also on official servers. On a private game, I should probably said this in the vendor video. On a private game, you see this donate button. When on a private game, you're going to go in there and he's going to sell like 3 things, and he's going to buy like 2 things, which is twine and food. And you're not going to make any money because you need to max out. You need to level the vendor. So you see Wayland is level 14. He started at level 1, and you have to pay I think it's like 80,000 gold to level them. On official servers, that's already done. Like, you don't even have to worry about that. But on a personal game, like if you want to use the vendors, which you probably don't really need to do on a personal game, you'll have to level them yourself. All right, so what I wanted to say here, so this says 120. Like if you can read it, it says that this is selling for 120 gold. That ain't true. You want to add 2 zeros to that. So I have 2,000 right now. It definitely ain't selling for 1,200. This is 12,000. This head is 12,000. Is that 2 zeros? That's 3 zeros. Not 2 zeros. That's 12,000 gold right there. This one is 17. You see it says down here that it's 17. This one, it says it's 17 too. It's not. It's 12,000. Why are those 2,000? That doesn't make any sense. So eventually you'll get a feel for what the actual prices are of things, because they're not right. Ever. Unless they're like 1. Unless they're buying the farming goods and they're super cheap. Or food. Food's pretty cheap too. Okay, so we've talked about armor quality. There is weapon quality also. So this guy, and this is actually the best way to do it. There are drops in this game, so the dark creatures will drop bags sometimes, and they'll drop blueprints, and they'll drop cores, which we'll talk about later, and they'll drop gear. So I got several of my legendary pieces from drops. I think that was a drop, and I think that was a drop. Which this rare iron scythe is better. You better not. What are you doing? Is better than some of the legendaries I've seen, which is why I'm still using the blue. But actually, it's super, make some gold, sell some stuff, come to this vendor. One of the first things you're want to do is you're going to buy an iron one-handed sword. So that's 119. What am I using? 116. So that's better than what I have. How much is it? So that will be, so this will be, I actually could do this right now. I could buy this right now. Boop, gone. And now I spent all my money. But now I upgraded my sword. But one of the first things, you're going to want to buy an iron sword, because that is huge. Because you're going from a stone sword with 29 damage, probably less than that. And all the way, like, you're going to want to do it. You're going to want to invest in that. The other thing you want to invest in is the two-handed weapon. The two-handed weapons are great. You can't sprint with them, but the AoE does massive damage. Like, especially even for early game. This is the one-handed or the two-handed. It does massive damage, and it's the easiest way to kill things that you normally couldn't kill, like a Reaper. Early game, you're not going to be able to kill it. But if you had a two-handed sword, you definitely could. The problem is your early game, you're going to have to buy several of them because you can't repair them because you don't have access to the mats that you need to repair them. Like, this is the very first one that I bought 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I've used it quite a bit, and I still haven't repaired it yet. And I'm not even at half durability. Which brings me, since we're talking about gear loses durability, and you have to repair it. All gear will lose its durability. All these have these little bars at the bottom, and all weapons, which my weapons are not in good shape right now. Same thing with spells. Spells will lose their durability every time you use them a little bit, and some spells only have 2 charges. The big spells only have 2 charges. So you want to keep an eye on that. So like this is the rare worker shoes. All I need to repair it is 1 hide, which is almost full. 1 hide, 1 fur, and 1 rune of gravity. And I would put it in my inventory, and I would click on it, and I would click repair, which is grayed out right now because I don't have the materials for it. Okay. Spells, to repair them, you need magic essence, which is one of the very earliest things that you'll learn how to make. Of course, you'll have level 1 spells. Actually, while we're talking about vendors, that's another good thing to do. So you'll make a staff as part of your quest line. You'll make a staff. You'll make a level 1 flame head. So the staff you have to equip like a weapon. So it's my 4. So this is the Battle Master staff. You have to equip it like a weapon, but then you have to equip staff heads. That's what all these are, extra staff heads. So I have a staff head right here that's already in it. And it will only use the staff head that's equipped until it breaks. Now, if you have another staff head that's the exact same type, then it will automatically replace it. Like right now, I have a rare Fireball Staff 3, Staff Head 3. If I don't have another rare one, it won't replace it. If I have a legendary one, it won't put the legendary one in. If I have a common one, it won't put the common one in. I'll have to go to the inventory and manually put it in, which is really a pain in the butt in the middle of combat. So you want to have several. So the reason I brought up the vendors is because early game, one of the best things you can do after you buy your one-handed sword, and probably before you buy your two-handed sword, is come to Bogar Thorn if you're a human. I'm not sure. The elf has their equivalent, and the dwarves have their equivalent. Go to this guy who's the general vendor, and he has, like, I can buy the biggest staff, which we don't actually know if which kind of staff makes a difference. We've tried to test it, and we couldn't really figure it. We couldn't find out. It's hard to have good numbers about that kind of thing. But if you can get a drop, like I have the only drop that I've ever seen. Like my brother has one and I have one. The uncommon one, which you can enchant, which again, that's another video. You'll want to use it because you can put bonus damage on it. Craftable. Actually, this say forgeable, so you could put bonus damage on this one. Anyway, you'll want to come here and look at these staff heads. They're freaking cheap. I can buy a staff head, a craftable staff head level 3 for 7. That's right. That tooltip is right. For 77 gold. Super cheap. The frost bolts, especially the level 3s, will freeze anything in place. So you're getting chased by a hyena. You turn around and it's a little bit slow. You turn around and you shoot it, and it will freeze the hyena in place for like 10 or 15 seconds. And then what I do, so my strategy, especially early game, was, and you can equip, see I have the staff heads on my key binds. So I just changed, if you look at my 4 keybind down there, you see it changing from fire. I'm changing out that staff head. So I usually run around with the, especially when I was running around, I would run around with the frost in the staff head, so that if I got attacked by a griffin or something, griffins are a freaking annoyance early game. If I got attacked by a griffin, I could just freeze it in place. And this is how, see, it takes a couple, maybe a half a second for it to wind up, and then it has to travel, and it has to hit the hitbox of the creature. Hitboxes are wonky in this game. You'll find that out too. Okay. Also, so normally my strategy for magic, which I probably should have done this in the last video, shoot them with a frostbolt, freeze them, shoot them with a fireball, which does initial damage plus damage over time. So after about 6 seconds, it's supposed to do damage over time. But what happens is it delays 5 to 6 seconds, and then it ticks all at once and does a huge amount of damage, which is still good. And then I'll switch to my lightning, which is the highest single damage spell, and just blast it with lightning until it dies. And if I have to, I'll, about every maybe 5 cast, if I'm pushing it, you'll have to refreeze them in place if you don't want them to chase after you. But yes, definitely early game, come here and buy some level 3 staff heads. See, the vendors just reset. While we were talking, the vendors reset. So now they have different stuff. I mean, this guy will always pretty much have the same stuff. These vary. Sometimes he won't, he doesn't have a level 2 fireball right now. He doesn't have it. Or level 2 fire heads, like the big wall of fires, which you can't use early game. You're going to want to stick to these lower ones. Okay. I think that's all we have for this video. Make sure you subscribe. And if you have any comments, if you have any questions, make sure you leave a comment, and I can address that in a video. All right, thanks for watching.